Yeah, picture this. You're standing in Chennai. It's hot, that sultry heat, and you can smell the filter coffee in the air. There's this real buzz of ambition. But hanging over the whole corporate skyline, something else is brewing. Something, well, pretty dramatic just broke. We're talking about a storm, and it involves one of South India's most powerful families, really well known. So June 10th, 2025, that's the date. A legal bombshell lands right here in Chennai. And it pits two brothers from one of the country's biggest media empires directly against each other. Today we're doing a deep dive into this whole saga as it unfolds. It's a complicated story. You've got shares, this really deep sibling rivalry, and this huge media empire that's been, well, a fixture in South India for decades. Our mission really is to unpack these pretty wild accusations, fraud, corporate maneuvering, all that stuff, and try to figure out what it all actually means. Now, to really get this, we need to understand the Maran family first. We've found they're basically like Tamil Nadu royalty almost. They hold immense clout, both politically and in the media.
Their late father, Kalanithi Maran, he was a huge figure in the DMK party. And nephew of the former chief minister, the legendary M. Karunanidhi, it was Murasoli, who really laid the foundations for what became the Sun Group. It's vast, like a whole buffet of influence. Sun TV, FM radio, newspapers. They even had airlines at one point.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is just how deeply connected that political legacy is with the business side. It's not just background noise, it's foundational. And that makes this current fight, well, much more significant than your average corporate spat.
That's a really critical point. When you have that kind of political connection baked into a massive media business, how does that usually play out in disputes like this?
Oh, it adds layers. So many layers you wouldn't see otherwise. Everything that happens, every claim gets looked at through two lenses, right? Corporate ethics, sure, but also political strategy. It brings up big questions about how power works, how people get ahead, and fundamentally how transparent these big media institutions really are.
Right. And the main players in this particular drama, the brothers themselves, Kalanithi and Dayanidhi Maran. Kalanithi is the elder one, executive chairman of Sun TV Network. We're talking billionaire status. Holds a massive 75% stake. Then there's Dayanidhi, the younger brother, also very prominent. He's been MP 3 times for Chennai Central, former union minister to textiles, IMB. We know they were once seen as this dynamic duo in Tamil Nadu, power players in the media and politics, but now it's less brotherly love and maybe more like, well, a real-life Game of Thrones, just with a distinct South Indian setting. Okay, so this legal notice. Dayanidhi sends it off on June 10th. It's, 36 pages long. It's just packed with accusations, stuff that would make, even a seasoned lawyer sit up and take notice. He's basically accusing Kalanithi, and Kalanithi's wife, Kavre, says she's an executive director at Sun TV 2, plus 6 others, of pulling off what he calls essentially a corporate heist. And the core claim that Kalanithi fraudulently took control of Sun TV network and other family businesses way back in 2003. And here's where the timing gets, well, pretty sensitive. This allegedly happened when their father, Murasoli, was gravely ill. Sometimes even comatose, the notice says.
That's right. The notice points to September 15, 2003. Murasoli had just been brought back to Chennai, reportedly in that comatose state. And on that day, Kalanithi allegedly gets himself 1.2 million equity shares, 12 lakh shares of Sun TV Private Limited, and the price tag. Just 10 rupees per share. Now, okay, that's the face value. But Dayanidhi claims the actual market value of Sun TV back then was something like Rs 3,500 crore. It's a staggering difference. Acquiring a media giant for, pocket change, relatively speaking, the notice alleges this happened with no proper valuation, no shareholder consent, crucially without even telling the rest of the family.
Wow. So he goes from having 0 shares to suddenly being the majority shareholder, just like that.
Pretty much overnight, according to the notice. Yeah. This totally flipped the ownership structure. The original promoters, their mother, Malika Maran, and M. Karunanidhi's wife, M.K. Dayalu, they each held 50%. Their stakes apparently got diluted down to just 20% each. It looks like, if true, a very decisive, very quiet consolidation of control.
And it doesn't stop there, does it? The notice goes on. It claims that after Murasoli passed away in late 2003, there were another 95,000 shares in his name. These were transferred to Malika Maran, the mother, supposedly without a death certificate or a legal heir certificate at first. Dayanidhi says those documents only kind of materialized later. And then these shares were allegedly sold to Kalanithi, again, at face value, apparently bypassing other heirs like Dayanidhi and their sister, Ambukarasi. It's like giving away a priceless family heirloom for pennies and just calling it a normal transaction.
Exactly. And if these claims are proven, the financial impact is just enormous. Dayanidhi also accuses Kalanithi of pocketing a a staggering Rs 5,926 crore in dividends by 2023, plus another Rs 455 crore in 2024, all stemming, allegedly, from these disputed share moves. If those numbers are anywhere near accurate, it suggests, a systematic drain of wealth over many years.
But Dayanidhi's notice isn't just about the shares, is it? He's using some heavy terms. Money laundering, criminal breach of trust. He's alleging that Kalanithi, Kaveri, and the others didn't just fiddle with company records, but actually created false ones. And that they actively misled regulators, SEBI, the Securities and Exchange Board of India, the stock exchanges too. He claims that when Sun TV went public in 2006, its red herring prospectus, that's the big document for investors before an IPO. Dayanidhi basically alleges it wasn't entirely factual. More like creative writing, he suggests. He points to things like claiming enormous 10.64 crore was paid as dividends to Kalanithi Maran in 2005, when, he says, no such payment actually happened.
Yeah, that's a direct hit at the integrity of corporate disclosures. Public companies rely on that transparency. And then there's that alleged share transfer in 2005 involving MK Dayanidhi claims Kalanithi bought her shares for Rs 100 crore, supposedly using Sun TV funds, and at a price that way undervalued them. What's really stark is the alleged price difference. He's supposedly paid over Rs 3,100 per share for Dayalu's stock, but allegedly snapped up Malika's, his mother's, shares for just Rs 10 each earlier. That kind of disparity, if true, raises serious questions about how shareholders, even within the family, were treated. The picture painted by Dayanidhi's notice is one of a calculated step-by-step plan to grab power, allegedly using the family's grief and trust as leverage.
Okay, so what's the bottom line here? What is Dayanidhi actually asking for? He's not just, venting. He wants action. A full corporate reset, it sounds like. The notice demands restoring Sun TV shareholding back to how it was before 2003, when Malika and Dayalu each had 50%. He also wants Kalanithi and Kaveri to return everything, assets, dividends, benefits they've allegedly gained since 2003. That could be thousands of crores. And if they don't agree within 7 days, which as of June 19 they hadn't, Dayanidhi is threatening to open the legal floodgates.
He really is. We're talking civil suits, criminal cases, and getting major regulators involved. Agencies like the Serious Fraud Investigation Office, SFIO, SEBI, the Enforcement Directorate, or ED, which looks into money laundering. And this is where it could potentially impact things beyond just Sun TV. He's even threatening to go to the Board of Control for Cricket in India, the BCCI, to get the Sunrisers Hyderabad IPL team cancelled, and to the DGCA, the Aviation Authority, to potentially pull SpiceJet's license. It's like he's aiming at other parts of the linked empire. His legal team, led by K. Suresh at Law Dharma in Chennai, they seem serious. They're pushing for a forensic audit of Sun TV's books, too.
Right. To grasp why this matters so much, let's just step back. Sun TV network had started as Sumangali Publications way back in 85, right? It's an absolute giant in Indian media. 33 TV channels, 45 FM radio stations, newspapers, magazines. They just dominate the South Indian market. From those really popular Tamil serials to big Telugu movies, Sun TV is huge culturally. It shapes what millions of people watch every single day. Now, Kalanithi's readership undeniably turned it into a massive success story, a real cash cow with a huge market cap. But this notice throws up some really fundamental questions about how that empire was actually built. Was it all business acumen? Or, as Dayanidhi alleges, was there a sleight of hand happening behind closed family doors?
It definitely puts a spotlight on corporate governance in India's media sector, especially companies with those strong political connections. The Marans' ties to the DMK have always been a point of discussion. Critics have often suggested their media growth benefited from political favor at times. Sun TV's big growth phases often seem to line up with when the DMK was in power. Now, they were acquitted in those earlier cases, the 2G spectrum thing, the telephone exchange allegations, but this new fight could absolutely reopen some old debates and force a fresh look at their business practices, legally and publicly. It makes you ask, how do you ensure things are done ethically and transparently when business and politics get so tangled?
So really, it's a family feud wearing corporate clothes, isn't it? But the stakes are incredibly high. Could shake the whole region. Can you imagine the next Maran family gathering? Awkward doesn't even begin to cover it. Dayanidhi's notice actually brings up Kalanithi Maran and MK Dayalu's legacy. It frames this whole thing as a betrayal of what they originally intended. He's kind of positioning himself as the one defending the family honor, painting Kalanithi as the one who allegedly ran off with the family jewels. But let's be honest, both brothers have done very well out of the Sun Empire, haven't they? Dayanidhi's political career, Kalanithi's billions. They didn't just appear from nowhere. So is this purely about righting alleged wrongs? Or is there also a layer of just deep personal sibling rivalry over who gets the biggest piece of the pie?
It certainly highlights the roles of other family members, too, like Malika Maran, the mother, and Ambukarazi, the sister. Malika's share transfers that recorded Rs 500 crore settlement for Ambukarazi. It hints at maybe deeper, older family issues, things that have been simmering for potentially years and are now just boiling over in public. Did Kalanithi just sort of outplay everyone in the family, or was there some kind of understanding that's now broken down? We might never know the full story behind the family dynamics, the nuances, but one thing seems clear. This isn't only about the money. It feels like it's fundamentally about power, about legacy, and maybe, yeah, a good dose of sibling rivalry going back years.
So let's just recap where we are. Dayanidhi Maran fires off this legal notice. Astonishing allegations fly. Fraudulent share takeover back in 2003 while their father was seriously ill. Claims of money laundering. Misleading regulators with that IPO prospectus in 2006. We've talked about how a company supposedly worth Rs 3,500 crore might have changed hands for, what, Rs 1.2 crore? And these massive claims of billions in dividends being siphoned off. It's quite the drama unfolding. Personal, corporate, all mixed together.
And right now, as of June 19th, 2025, silence from Kalanithi Maran's camp, publicly anyway. Some reports are saying, oh, it's just a personal matter. It won't really affect Sun TV's operations day to day. But you have to look at what Dayanidhi is actually demanding. It's huge. Restoring the old share structure, returning potentially thousands of crores, and this threat of bringing in the big guns, SFIO, SEBI, ED, even potentially hitting related businesses like the Sunrisers IPL team via the BCCI or SpiceJet via the DGCA. This isn't just some minor disagreement. It really could blow up into a massive corporate mess with potentially serious collateral damage.
Now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, two rich brothers fighting in Chennai. Why should I care? Adieu. But this whole saga, it's more than just gossip about billionaires. It gives us a real insight into, well, the foundations of trust, of power, how these giant media empires get built and run, especially in places with complex politics. Sun TV influences what millions and millions of people watch every single day. Serials, news debates, movies, you name it. If the very ownership of that network is tangled up in allegations of serious misconduct, corporate wrongdoing, it naturally makes you question the integrity of the media you're consuming, doesn't it? And with those deep political ties always lurking in the background, it's a stark reminder that influence often comes with complicated strings attached, things you don't always see.
Absolutely. And this whole thing playing out there in Chennai, it really pushes us to ask some fundamental questions. When family ties and corporate control get this intertwined, how do you actually ensure transparency? How do you ensure accountability? Especially in media, which is so influential, and for all of us living in this information-saturated world, how do we figure out the real power dynamics shaping the stories we hear every day, shaping the institutions we interact with? Maybe this story makes you think about those deeper currents, beneath the surface of institutions that seem so solid, so unshakable. Or maybe it just makes you want to have a quick chat with your own siblings about their long-term plans, just in case.
So as the sun sets over Marina Beach down in Chennai, casting those long shadows, the fight between the Maran brothers, it feels like it's really just getting started. The legal fuse has definitely been lit. Will it just fizzle out? Or will it explode into this huge, drawn-out legal battle? We don't know yet. But one thing feels pretty certain. We haven't heard the last of the Sun TV saga. Not by a long shot. So definitely stay tuned. Because in their world, sometimes the only thing brighter than the sun might just be the spotlight shining on their biggest secret.